Hello there. Welcome back to Grade 10 Economics. In this video, I want to look at a question paper of November 2023. So we are going to start with our question 2. And our question is on macroeconomics. And we are going to go through the question, answering what we have to spend on average 30 minutes on this question. So on our first part, which is 2.1 and 1.1, named economics. So you see that we have many broad approaches that we have to economics. So we can talk about macroeconomics, and we can talk about microeconomics also as a part of those broad approaches. So we go to our other section and try to see what list we have according to those broad approaches. So we can just try to see. So coming here, you would see that we have got macro, and we have got macro is a broad approach, and then it's also the Keynesian. So maybe starting with the economics, but macroeconomics basically is the branch of economics and that deals with the performance, structure, behavior, and decision making of an economy as a whole. So when we are looking at a branch of economic that is aggregating all the factors that we have in the economy, we call it macroeconomics. For example, we have got GDP as a macroeconomic factor. We also have unemployment. We can also talk about inflation because when we are, for example, at the gross domestic product, which is our GDP, when we are calculating our GDP, we are going to integrate all the activities that are transpiring in our economy. So it's an aggregation of the whole economy. So the same applies to unemployment and inflation. So this is what we have in terms of macroeconomics, and then obviously also on micro now, it's now the branch of economics that studies the behavior of individuals and firms in making decisions regarding the allocation of scarce resources and the interaction among those individuals and firms. So we are now seeing that from when you're talking about microeconomics now, we are talking about the study from a microeconomic point of view, that is from for example, from a firm point of view, or from an industry or a market point of view. Then we are saying we are looking at microeconomics. So basically, macroeconomics, you will be looking at a sector in the economy, whereby when we're now talking about macro, we're talking about the whole economy point of view. So this one here that we have on macro and micro. And obviously, on the monetaries, we are talking about this is the emphasis that we have on the role of policymakers in the amount of money in circulation. So the control of the money, of the amount of money that is there in circulation, is what is centered on monetary. So basically, monetaries, we are talking about the issue of controlling the supply of money, and that is the amount of money that is in circulation. That is what we call, that is what we have by monetary. So also, we also have Keynesian, but when we talk about Keynesian now, it focuses on total spending in the economy and its effects on output, for example, and also on employment, its effects on employment, and also its effects on inflation. That is now the Keynesian. So basically, we are talking about the relationship that exists between total spending and those factors that we have listed, that is output, employment, and inflation. And obviously, the total spending that we are talking about is obviously consists of the government expenditure. So this is what we have on the first part of the question, that is 2.1.1. Then moving on to the second part of the question, you see what important subject for policy makers to study. So the question is asking us the relevance of economics when in the process of policy making. So obviously, economics, as we have tried to explain on the first part, that it integrates from the study of the whole economic point of view, and also from an individual market or the internet industry point of view, when we are now talking about the microeconomic view. So if you try to see on the importance of economics on policy making, we can just try to see in terms of the points that we have here. So we have 2.1.2 economic principles can be applied to a wide range of policy issues such as taxation, trade, education. We also have environmental protection and poverty reduction. So that's why economics is important in policy making, because it applies to a wide range of issues that are applied in policy making. So this is the response that we have on the second part. So you see that economics also can try to explain it from the point of view that it can be applied to a wide range of policy issues. For example, we are talking about a reduction in unemployment. So that makes it very relevant in terms of policy making. So this is the explanation that we have now. So I will go to the next part of the question. With this second pair of branches, a branch of microeconomics and macroeconomics. And obviously, we've got some sub branches that are beneath that. So going through. this diagram, you can as well go try to go through what we have in a diagram. So the first question, 2.2.1, is named the branch of economics that deals with national aggregates. So obviously, this branch is dealing with national aggregates. When I talk about national aggregates, we are talking about the aggregating or the combining of all the aspects that we have in the whole economy. So remember when we defined macroeconomics, we said this is a whole economy point of view. So exactly as we are having here that it deals with national aggregate, so obviously it becomes a macro economy. So we are trying to understand that and to say that we have got our explanation, our answer there is our macroeconomics on 2.2.1. Then going on to the next studies, how low income countries, you know that when we have such a scenario on how low income countries can achieve economic prosperity. These low income countries, basically, they are developing countries. So this is obviously a development economics. This is development economics, and you know that development economics is the branch of economics whose goal is to better the fiscal conditions or the economic conditions or social conditions of developing countries. So developing countries are the countries that we are saying they are the low income countries. So we go there and try to see in terms of our response, and then we have there which is development and economy, which is now 2.2.3, and our question has got 2 marks. So environmental economics, which is that this is the study of the efficient allocation, also use and protection of world's limited natural resources. So the process of allocating efficiently the limited resources that exist in the world is called environmental economics. So we can try to go see there in terms of the explanation that we have in terms of development economics. We try to see in terms of environmental economics. Sorry, so environmental economics is the study of the economic importance of environment for sustainable economic growth and development. So this is the explanation that we have, which is exactly so also try to point out the explanation that we've given here earlier in terms of environmental economics. So on 2.2.4 and 2.2.4 is how does mathematics relate to economics. So basically the question is asking us the importance of mathematics to economics. Obviously, in terms of the economics variables that we study, we apply mathematics. So why do we apply that in mathematics? We see that obviously the importance is on the accuracy of the analysis that we'll be doing in terms of economic variables. So basically, we can say importance of mathematics is to allow an economist to offer more precision, that is accuracy, with their projections and analysis. When they're making their projections and analysis, their accuracy is enhanced when they apply mathematics. So that becomes the relation that we have between mathematics and economics. So moving on to our other section, you would see that it reads that mathematics plays a crucial role in economics as it provides tools for analyzing economic relationships and making predictions about economic behavior. So this is the appreciation that we have in terms of mathematics. Then we go to 2.2.5, which reads why should people consider economics when choosing a career? So when you choose a career, why do we consider economics? It's because economics is a very broad area that covers a lot of aspects. So by applying economics in our careers, it's a very important aspect that is going to influence our performance in all careers that we are going to undertake, because we are saying it's a very broad it's a very broad respect, and in terms of its also applications, we see that it also enhances the issue of decision making. Remember, on the start of the basic economic problem, we've got the issue of scarce resources. Within those scarce resources, an economist has to make a decision by making a choice. So you would see that decision making is also core in terms of the study of economics, which is very important when you are choosing a career. So we go there and try to see in terms of 2.2.5 the explanation that we have. So 2.2 we should choose economic, why we should consider economics when choosing tied to public policy. And it's second issue that have a significant impact on society and international development. Provides graduates with a broad range of skills and knowledge that can be. It's a very versatile field, like we are saying, that it's a broad field that can make you acquire a broad range of skills, research, and many others. So this is at the levels of economics when we are choosing a career. So this is what we have on 2.2.5. Then we can try to move on to the next part, which is 2.3.1. So around 2.3.1, we can just try to see what we have. So we go to, we're given also some pictures that are given there, and if we start the illustration below and answer the questions that follow. So we are given some pictures, and we are seeing that we've got a bicycle there, there's a fridge, and this seems to be, it's a microwave, and then we've got some uh, also some consumables that are on the other hand. We've got Colgate, we've got bread that is noticeable, we've got a toothbrush. So Pixel 2.3.1 reads identify one durable consumer good in the last section above. Remember, the explanation on durable goods is that durable goods are goods that are going to last for a longer period of time. So if you check there, you'll see that on the right side, we've got foodstuffs, which obviously do not last for a longer period. But if you look there, we've got fixed assets that we are seeing there, or non-current assets in the form of fridge. We've got a bicycle that we expect them to last for a longer period of time, so they are durable. So the question is saying identify one durable consumer good. Obviously, on this side, which is the left-hand side, that's where we've got durable goods. We've got a fridge, we've got a bicycle, and we've got a microwave. So we can pick just one. Yes, the question is only asking one. So we can go to another section and try to see what we have. We have our 2.3 bicycle, microwave oven, and then fridge. These are the durables that are being shown in the picture that we have there. Second part is saying, name one basic need of a household. We know that a basic need it includes the essential goods that must be satisfied first, and we can regard them to be a guarantee for survival. So what what basically do we consider as a basic need? Obviously, we're talking about clothing. That is a very essential commodity that someone cannot live without. So this is what we call a basic need. So the question is only asking for one basic need. So we can just try to say in terms of the list that we have. We've got food, water, shelter, and clothes. Those are the basic. And we are saying a human being cannot live without this. We cannot live without food, water, shelter, and clothes. So we can just pick one according to the question, which is only asking for one. When we go to the next part there, which is saying briefly describe the term consumption. But we know that consumption is the act of using a resource. So whenever we are using a resource, we are saying we are consuming it, or we can say it's the act of using or eating or drinking something. That's consuming also. So we are seeing that the explanation of consumption goes beyond the issue of eating or drinking. It can also go to the aspect of using. When we use a certain product, you are consuming it. So it doesn't only include eating or drinking, it can also include the issue of using. So this is the basic that we so we go to our other section try to see in terms of the explanation that we have. Consumption 2.3.3 is the use of goods and services by households. Basic that's the basic definition that we have in terms of consumption. So we go to the next part. Now you're saying, why is an increase in consumption needed for economic growth? So maybe you can start by understanding what is economic growth. But economic growth, when you're explaining economic growth, we are saying this is the increase in the total monetary value of goods and services that are being produced in a country. What we are trying to say, we are saying if this year we produce a total monetary value of goods and services of 1 million, and then the following year we produce a total monetary value of goods and services of 1,500,000. It means there's an increase of 500,000 that is there, which is representing the economic growth. So the increase in the total monetary value of goods that has been produced represents economic growth. So the question is saying, why is an increase in consumption needed for economic growth? So it's just asking the relationship that exists between consumption and economic growth. So obviously, when there's an increase in consumption, it means there's an increase in demand of the products and services that we have in the economy. And when there's an increase of demand, obviously the firms or businesses that are operating in that economy are going to notice an increase in revenue. And obviously, when there's an increase in revenue, it's going to widen their profit margins. They're going to earn more profit. And when they earn more profit, they're obviously they're going to reinvest that profit and expand their production capacities. When they expand their production capacity, more goods and services are going to be produced in that sense. And also more people are going to be employed, and we have more labor, more goods and services are going to be produced. And in that sense, we are going to notice an increase in the total monetary value of goods and services that are being produced in a country. Thereby now we notice economic growth. So that's the relationship that we have there. So we're going there to our other section now in terms of explanation that we have according to the response of this video. We have 2.3.4 is saying an increase in consumption will lead to increased demand for goods and services, which can in turn lead to higher levels of production employment and economic growth, exactly as we are trying to explain. Then the next point is saying when there is an increase in consumer demand, businesses are more likely to invest in expanding their production capacity to meet the demand. So obviously, in that sense, when they increase their production capacities, we are going to see that we're going to have an increase in the total monetary value of goods and services that are going to be produced in the country, and there we notice economic growth. So we go to the next part of the question, which is now 2.3.5. How does scarcity affect the choices or the choice consumers make? Obviously, scarcity, we understand it as the issue of having unlimited resources. When we have a few resources that cannot meet our needs and wants, we say we have got scarce resources. So the question is asking us how scarcity affect the choices consumers make. So obviously, the choice that you're going to make is going to be limited within the budget that we have. It's going to be limited to the resources that we have, so that you can only choose what you can afford to buy. So in that case, your choice has been unlimited. So this is what we have 2.3.5. Let's try to see in terms of the explanation that we have there. It's saying scarcity limits are the resources available to consumers. And then next point, since the resources are scarce, consumers must decide how to allocate their limited income among competing goods and services. So last point, they must make choices based on their preference and the price of the goods. So obviously, the price of the goods is going to be very key, because the price of the goods is going to determine your choice. Also, the relationship that is going to be there between the price of the goods and your income that you have is going to decide also your choice. So this is the explanation that we have for 2.3.5. Then we go to the next part of the question, which is 2.3. We've got 2.4, which is saying describe the difference between economic goods and free goods. So, but we know that a free good is a good that is not scarce and therefore is available without limit. That's a free good. So obviously, when we're talking about uh, a free good, is a good that is not scarce and therefore is available without limit. That is a free good. So when we now go to an economic good, we see that is um, the good will be scarce, and that's one of the main characteristics of economic good. The good will be scarce, and that becomes a differentiation that we have now between the economic good and a free good. So we go to the explanation that we are having there. Let's try to see what does it say. We are having an explanation of free goods first, and then we've got economic goods. Economic good, free goods, they're saying free goods are goods that have utility, but are so abundant and have no economic cost. So they are not limited. That the abundance that we have here, and they have no economic cost. So that's a free good. Since resources are scarce, consumers must decide how to allocate their limited income among competing goods and services. And then we've got last point, they must make choices based on their preference and the price of the goods. That is the explanation of free goods. Then economic goods are goods that have utility, are scarce. So the key point that we have here there is that they are scarce and they have a positive economic value. Then we have got next point, they are limited in supply and requires resources for effort to produce or obtain. Then economic goods are bought and sold in markets and they have a market value. And then these goods can be considered as part of the wealth of individuals and organizations. Examples of economic goods, we have got food and clothing have been given as examples of economic goods. So this is the differentiation that exists between free goods and economic goods. So we go to the next part of the question, which is now 2.5, which is the last question. How do fluctuations in the business cycles affect the level of unemployment? So the relationship that exists between fluctuations in business cycle and level of unemployment. Remember, in a business cycle, the fluctuations that characterize a business cycles might have a boom, might have a recession, and also we are going to have extreme points whereby we are going to have a peak and a drop. So a peak, we're saying that's where economic activity is at its highest level. So obviously, when we are operating in a boom, that is economic activity is increasing, so unemployment is going to be reduced. As economic activity is increasing, it means the demand of goods and services also is going to increase, and then uh, businesses are going to expand their production due to high profits, and they accommodate more workers, and unemployment will be reduced. But when there's a recession now, we're going to notice an increase in unemployment, because we're going to see that firms are going to face high cost of production. They are going to retrench some of the workers so that they cut costs, and then you see more people being unemployed. So unemployment will increase. The same applies when we're having a peak. We are saying that's where we've got the highest point in terms of economic activity. Obviously, that's the highest point that employees can be accommodated. That is at the peak. So the opposite is true when we're talking about the trough. So we go to the explanation that we're having in this video. It's saying first point is saying during the expansion phase, that is the boom. During the expansion phase, that is the boom, economic activity increases and the business expand production and hire additional workers. Then secondly, conversely, during the contraction phase, unemployment increases as firms reduce production and lay off workers. Then you go to the next point. During the peak phase, employment may remain high, but it will typically begin to decrease as the economic slows down. Immediately after the peak, obviously, it's not going to stay much longer because immediately after that, we are going to see a drop whereby the economy now goes to a recession. That is after a period of a peak. Then on the last point, during a trough phase, economic activity is at its lowest point, and businesses are forced to cut costs and lay off workers. So this is what we have on the last part, which is 2.5. So this is what we have, guys, according to this video. Hopefully the video was helpful. Let's not forget to subscribe and share. Let's share the video to our colleagues what we can change economics. More typical examination questions are going to be uploaded on the channel. Let's meet again in the next video. As for this video, I'm signing out.